Boom! Let's go live, guys. Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. This is episode number 5 of the phrasal verb course. We're going to be going through the particle by today. This will be a shorter one because there's not that many different ways we can use by. So it'll be a short episode for you guys. Before we get into it, if you want to sign up for the course, you can get it now for just $97. You'll get access to everything as I release it. That's these videos, but inset up in the corner here over the slideshow that I read from. You get a transcript with all the words that I say. I highlight every single phrasal verb that I use in every single episode, give you definitions at the bottom. And then I also give you exercises, and I'm developing the Facebook group at the moment to give you daily exercises too. So sign up, give it a go if you guys want to dominate phrasal verbs, if you want to learn them by heart, if you want to learn them by rote, if you want to be able to use them naturally, effortlessly, like a native speaker. So I'm going to quickly give this episode a share. If you want to share it as well, please do so. It'll give it a boost on Facebook so a few extra people see it. If you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up. Give me a little love heart if you really want to show your love. And tell me where you guys are listening from today. I'm always curious to see if you guys are over here in Australia, down under. If you're out in the country, are you guys in the city? Are you overseas? And what time is it? What time is it where you guys are? Hopefully you're not watching this too early in the morning or too late in the evening. And it's good. At the moment, I'm looking out the window here and it's still sunny. So we had daylight savings come in, I think on the 1st of October. I always forget every year. And the funny thing is my clock always sets itself automatically. So I just wake up and the hours shifted forward or backwards, and I don't even notice, to be honest. It was a funny day. Didn't even realize. So let me just quickly share the video here so that it gets a bit more of a boost and a few more people might see it on Facebook. And then we can dive straight into today's phrasal verb course. So this component is going to be all about the phrasal verb by, guys, or phrasal verbs that we create with the particle by, I mean to say. All right, quick share, then let's get into it. Alrighty then. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to the 5th episode, or the 5th component of the Effortless Phrasal Verb course, guys. Today we're going to be talking all about the particle by and how we can add it to phrasal verbs, or to verbs, in order to create phrasal verbs. So this is a relatively simple one, guys. There's only 2 or so different meanings, different ways that it tends to be used when we join it together with a verb. But firstly, I'll go through what the particle means, because it can be confusing as it's often seen after verbs in the English language when we use it. So it's actually quite funny. I looked this up and there's about 20 different definitions for when you can use the word by, which is quite irritating. And even reading them, I don't even know this when I use it or when I think about it. So the 2 basic ones though, two basic ones, are identifying the agent performing an action. So this tends to be heard in the passive voice. I drove my car. That's me saying it in the active voice. My car was driven by me. That's the passive voice. My car was driven by me. He threw the ball over to me. He threw the ball over to me. The ball was thrown over to me by him. So he was the one that did it, by him. We looked up a word in the dictionary. The word was looked up in the dictionary by us. Okay, so it can be used in the passive voice. We can also use it to indicate the means by which something is achieved. Okay, so if something is achieved, we might say, for instance, I drove by using my hands. So I did this thing by using my hands. He learnt to throw the ball by practicing. So he learnt to throw the ball by practicing. We looked up the word by using a dictionary. Okay, so that's the basic idea of where the particle by will be used in English when it's not with phrasal verbs. or when it's not in a phrasal verb, when it's not with verbs. When we combine it with a verb to create a phrasal verb, though, it tends to mean one of two different things. The first one is movement, so getting to close proximity and then passing something. And this can be interchanged with the word past. For instance, the man walked past us, the man walked by us. So it's the idea of getting very close, two things to get very close to one another, and then something to go away. So pass by, walk by. The second one is to just literally be by something. So to be next to it, to be stationary, still, to be not moving, but to be very close to something. So for example, he stood by the ladder. So if I was standing here holding a ladder, I'm standing by, like beside, the ladder. So this one just means beside in this example, to be next to be beside something. And then we have a bunch of miscellaneous ones as usual, guys. So we'll go through all of those at the end with a few expressions too. Let's just dive into it though. All right, so the first and most basic form of using by with a verb is that you will pick a movement verb, walking, running, stumbling, hobbling, limping, and you just add in by or past. Okay, the particle by or past, they both mean the same thing. For instance, the man walked by the lady. So there's two people here. This is the lady, this is the man. He's walking to the lady, he walks by the lady, and then he walks away from the lady. So he walks to her, by her, away from her. The man walked by the lady. He could run by the lady, or he could run past the lady. He could stumble by the lady, or stumble past the lady. He could hobble by the lady, he could hobble past the lady. That is to kind of like limp, so it's to not be able to walk properly. He can limp by the lady or limp past the lady. Again, as usual, guys, you pick whatever verb you want in the case of these movement phrasal verbs, and then you pick the particle that you want to describe that change in location, right? So moving to, moving by, this little action, and then moving away from. Okay? To, by, away from. And you just pick the verb. Walk away from, run by, stumble to. All right, the next one. We could talk about the same sort of thing, but this time to pass something really quickly. So these are quite commonly used for things like, say, cars that are going by quickly or bullets that are going by quickly. And again, we just switch in the verb that we feel like using to describe how the car or the bullet is going by. So for instance, he raced by in his ute. He raced by, so he went by really quickly. He went past really quickly. He raced by, he raced past. We could zoom by or zoom past, and that's the idea of going zoom, zoom by, zoom past. You can scream by, scream past, rush by, rush past. If someone shot a gun and the bullet came by your head, so it didn't hit your head, but it came really close to it and then went past, it could whiz by, it could whiz past. The bullet could shoot by. Literally, it's been shot at you, it shoots by, it shoots past. And you could speed by or speed past. Okay, so hopefully those are starting to make sense. We can use this when we're visiting people. So for instance, if you were living here and I lived on the other side of town over here, I could come by your house. I guess it's like this. Come by, meaning that I come to your house and then past. So this would be the thing of sort of visiting briefly whilst you're doing a journey or whilst you're going on a journey. So their place isn't the end location. That's when you might say, I'm coming over to yours, I'm coming around to yours, or I'm coming to yours. So yours is in your house, your place, and that's the ultimate destination in that journey. But if I'm going to say the shop's over here and your house is here, and I'm going to go by your house on the way to the shops, so I'm literally going by you and then going to the shops, that's when I can use by or past with any of these different kinds of verbs. So for instance, I'll drop by your house on the way to the shops. I'll drop by your house. I'll drop past your house. So your house is on the way. I'll drop by. I'll drop past. I'll visit you briefly. You could stop by or stop past someone's house. Swing by, swing past, pass by. You probably wouldn't say pass past because it's kind of redundant. The words are related to one another, but you would say pass by. I'll come by yours later. I'll go by yours on the way to the shops. I might pop by later on. Are you going to be around? Because I'll come over to your house. I'll pop by before I then go to the shops. So to drop by or any other verb with by or past there when talking about visiting someone briefly and usually on a journey where that's not the end of the journey. It's sort of on the way to something else. All right, what else have we got here? So again, passing someone. A few of these I'll go through now will have kind of a literal sense and then a figurative sense. So there'll be the literal movement or being next to something kind of sense of the phrasal verb, but then we often have this other figurative, metaphorical use of this phrasal verb. Okay, so the first one here is to pass by. We can use this literally to mean you've passed someone by. So you've walked past someone in the street, you've passed by them, you've walked past them, you've walked by them. But we can use this more figuratively for, say, opportunities. So I wanted to apply for a new job, but I forgot to hand in my CV. I forgot to give them my CV, and so that opportunity passed me by. The opportunity went by, so I didn't quite get it. I was here and the opportunity, which isn't a physical thing, went past and I missed out. We could use fly by. And again, literally, the bird flies by quickly. So I'm here, the bird's flying, maybe it's flying over, maybe it's flying around, it's flying to and then away from me, but it flies past me or it flies by me incredibly quickly. The bird flies by me incredibly quickly. We could use it in a figurative sense though for things that pass by quickly that aren't physical objects. So for instance, time flies by quickly. That's a common expression you'll hear. Time really flies by. So that's the idea of, I guess, being stationary and time going past you and kind of leaving you behind. So time flies by quickly. All right, the next one, come by. To come by. So we can use this, excuse me for a sec. So we can use this in the sense of to visit. I think I've swallowed a fly. Excuse me for a sec, guys. Oh. All right. So we can use come by to mean visit. I'll come by yours later. We can also use this in non-literal ways like to find something or to come across something. So I guess that's kind of related. Sorry, I was getting a call there. So I guess that's related to passing something like this, but it's something that you found on the ground or it's something that you have received that you've got. So someone might say, how did you come by that new watch that you're wearing? So I've got a watch here. How did you come by it? It's kind of like, how did you find it? How did you get it? How did you come across it? Did you buy it? Where did you see it in the shops? How did you come by that watch? And then, yeah, we can use visit or see someone in the street just by chance, and you could just say, yeah, I came by my friend in the street, or she came by us in the street. We can use go by and go past. Again, we can go by someone's house literally, but we could say that time goes by. So that was kind of like how time can fly by, time goes by. So time goes past, it goes by really quickly. We can also use this for what someone's name is. So we might say, what name does he go by? What name does he go by? Meaning, what name does he use? What's his name? It may not be his actual name, but if it's the name he goes by, that means it's the name that people use when they're talking to him, referring to him, whatever it is. What name does he go by? And we can also go by, say, experience. So to be guided by something or to be based on something. So going by experience, he'll be late. So if I go by experience, he'll be late. All right, what else have we got here? So we can pass undetected. Here's another one talking about passing or going by something. So he passed by the guards unnoticed. He went by the guards unnoticed. He passed by the guards unnoticed. He slipped by. He slipped past. The thief slipped by the security cameras, so they didn't see him. He slipped by. Slip is to kind of like, imagine me putting my hand on a table and doing that, you know, my hand slipping. So he slipped by. You can say sneak by or sneak past. The leopard snuck by the man. So imagine the man's here looking forward and this leopard's come behind him and then passed and went away. The leopard snuck by the man. Or we could creep by something. So the hours crept by tonight. That's, I guess, more of a figurative sense where the hours, as in time, crept by, as in passed us by without us noticing. They crept by. What else have we got? Okay, now talking about being literally beside something. So I could sit by the wall here. I'm sitting by the wall. I'm sitting next to it. I could sit by someone. So if my mother was in hospital sick, I might sit by her all night. So the example sentence here was, he sat by his sick mother all night. I might wait by something. So I might wait by the wall for something. I might lean on the wall. I might put my hand on the wall. I might lean against the wall whilst I wait for something, but I'm beside the wall, so I'm waiting by the wall. Maybe I'm waiting by a phone, so I'm waiting for a phone call. I have the phone next to my head and I'm waiting by the phone for news. I could stay by something as well. So again, it's just the verb changing to whatever I want, and I'm talking about sitting next to something, sitting beside something. So I might stay by the phone whilst I wait for it to call. Make sure you stay by the phone. Getting into some more that sort of mean beside, well, they do mean beside, but that have figurative senses as well. So for example, to stick by something. So he's stuck by the TV tonight. That would be like, here's the TV, here's him, and he's right next to it, and maybe he can't tear himself away from the TV. He could if he wanted, but he doesn't want to leave the TV. He doesn't want to go away from the TV. So he's stuck by the TV tonight. Figuratively though, we could say that someone sticks by someone else, meaning that they stay by their side. They support that person. Or they maintain a decision or a promise. So she sticks by her husband, meaning that she doesn't break up with her husband, she doesn't go away from him, she doesn't leave him, she sticks by him. It could be also that he does something or he thinks something and she supports him. So she sticks by her husband's opinion, or she sticks by her husband's actions, so she supports him. We can take stick away and we can put in the verb stand, and this can mean literally to be standing next to, but it could also mean to support. Again, the idea of supporting someone. So I stand by a ladder, that's literally me standing next to a ladder, or I could stand by what I said. So I said something, I made an accusation, maybe I made a threat, and I upheld it, I maintained it by standing by what I said. So here's what I said, here's me, and I stood by it. I stood strong, I didn't back down. What else have we got here? So we can also use stand by to mean wait for further instructions. So we stood by and waited for more information, or a lieutenant might be in the army and he's waiting for orders, and so he's standing by. He's waiting for these orders. So maybe the colonel or the general, the guy above him, calls him up on the phone whilst he's standing by and says, you need to do this, this, and this, and he says, no worries, got it. And then he's no longer standing by and he goes and acts on those orders, okay? It can also mean remain loyal to someone, support someone. We kind of went over that, but imagine The dog stood by his owner, so he's not going to abandon him, he's not going to run off on him, he's not going to betray him, he's going to remain loyal and support his owner. And she stood by her husband no matter what, so she supported him no matter what. All right, we're almost done, guys. We've got a few others here with regards to adhering to rules or adhering to laws. So you would adhere to these things. Another form of sort of a phrasal verb there, guys, but you might play by the rules. So if you play a game, they play the game by the rules, or they play the game by the rules. So they're abiding by the rules as well. We could say they're abiding by the rules, meaning they're adhering to the rules. So we abide by the law when we drive our car by using our hands. We drive our car following the instructions, following the speed limit, okay? So if we abide by the law or we abide by the rules, we're adhering to them. And the same with play a game by the rules or by the law of the game, I guess you could say. To inform briefly or check something, so we can use the verb run something by someone or run something past someone. And again, this can sort of have the literal and the figurative sense, to run by or to run past. So the literal sense would be that you run past someone or you run by someone. The worker ran by his boss, he ran past his boss. But if he runs something past his boss, this will usually be an idea or a plan, maybe something verbal, something written, but it's an idea. So the worker ran the idea by his boss. So that would be like the worker's standing here, or, could be anywhere really. He can be anywhere, but his boss is here and his idea goes by his boss. So he runs the idea by his boss, he runs the idea past his boss, which is the idea of informing his boss about his idea and checking to see what he thinks. Should we do this in the future? I just wanted to run it past you. I just wanted to run it by you to see what you thought, and then we can act on whatever you decide we should do. Okay, so I just wanted to run the idea by you, and maybe I was running the idea by my boss whilst I was literally running by him. So I was talking at him, and then as I passed, I had to turn my head and keep talking, and then I ran off. Okay. So you can swear by something, and you can, swear by something, so completely trust or support something. You could swear by a person, so it doesn't literally mean to say swear words, but if I swear by this person, it's kind of like I say you should trust this person, you should support this person, or I support this person. I swear by their loyalty, their trustworthy nature, whatever it is, but I say this person's good, completely trustworthy, you should definitely trust them. I swear by this person. I might swear by a thing, so for example, my book here on Australian slang, if I think this is the best book in the world for Australian slang, I swear by it. So I might go out into the world, I might come across people or come by people, and if they ever ask me, which books do you use for Australian slang? If I instantly say, this one, you should definitely trust this book, I support it thoroughly, I swear by this book, I swear by it. And the example sentence I have here is, she swears by yoga. So if she does yoga, she goes to class all the time and she thinks it makes her healthy, happy, she swears by it. Especially if she goes out and tells people, yoga's awesome, you should try it out, you should give it a go. I love yoga, it's amazing, I swear by yoga. All right, 2 left and then we'll get into some expressions. So these ones are both used for to make do with something or to sort of survive on just enough. So this will usually be talking about money, guys, about making enough money, say at work, to live. So to get by. So again, to get by can have the literal meaning of to get by something, to get past something. So how did you get by the guard dog? So there's a guard dog hanging around outside a junkyard, somewhere there's heaps of junk cars. That's where we usually see guard dogs. Protecting the yard, he's on duty, he's guarding, and somehow you got by the dog, you snuck by, you crept by, you, I don't know, any other verb, went by, came by, but you got by the guard dog, meaning you got past the guard dog. He didn't see you. But we can use it in a figurative sense, and this one, it has to be to get by. We can't use get past. But this would mean to make do, to have enough money to make ends meet, or to survive. So what do you do to get by at the moment for work? What do you do to get by? Meaning, what do you do in order to make enough money to survive? So at the moment, I get by teaching you guys English. I get by giving private lessons. I get by, and there you hear me using by twice, because I get by doing something, okay? Anyway, that's to get by. We can scrape by as well, and that would be the idea that you only just get by. You only just have enough resources to make ends meet, to survive, to make do. So I'm scraping by. So that's the idea of, imagine you've got some kind of surface and something is really pushing hard against it. If I'm scraping by, imagine you've got money sitting on this surface and there's only just enough that I have to actually scrape the surface when I take the money, and then there's nothing. So I'm scraping by, I guess. I'm only just making enough money to scrape by. I'm only just making enough money to survive. So let's go through 5 or so different expressions here, guys, and then we'll finish up. So if something is, or if someone is all by their lonesome, or all by themselves, this means to be alone. So I hate being by my lonesome on Valentine's Day. So I hate being alone on Valentine's Day. I hate being by myself on Valentine's Day. I hate being by my lonesome on Valentine's Day. The next one is taken by surprise, or to take someone or something by surprise, and this just means to be caught off guard, to be shocked, for something to be unexpected. So for instance, perhaps I was trying to sneak by that guard dog and he was asleep, and all of a sudden I stood on his tail and it woke him up, and I took him by surprise. He wasn't expecting that to happen. He was caught off guard. I totally took him by surprise when I stood on his tail while he was asleep. Or maybe the soldier snuck up on his enemy and took him by surprise. So he shocked him. It was unexpected. To take by surprise. You can learn something by heart or know something by heart, and this is the idea to know something perfectly. So we often use this with regards to, say, a skill, maybe playing the piano. So I worked away playing the piano, playing this song until I knew it by heart. Until I had learnt this song by heart, until I knew it by heart. I'd been working away at playing this song. If someone does well by someone else, that is to treat someone really well, to treat them nicely. So my parents always did well by me as a kid. So they paid for my school, they paid for me to go to the beach, they paid for my hobbies, they loved me, they took care of me, they were always nice to me, they treated me well. They really did well by me. They did well by their kids, and hopefully they would say that their kids did well by them. Okay, to do well by, to treat well. The last one is to judge a book by its cover. To judge something by its cover. To judge a book by its cover, though. Usually this is used in the negative, guys. Don't judge a book by its cover. And that just means to make assumptions based on appearance. So if I literally have a book here, we'll use my slang book again, and I saw the cover of the book, which is pretty boring, and I said, yeah, based on the cover, it looks like it's awful. It looks horrible, it looks boring, looks like a bit of a turn off. I'm not going to read that. That is me judging this book by its cover. So you'll always hear that, or not always, but often hear it in the negative. Don't judge a book by its cover, meaning don't make assumptions about something based on appearances, based on how that thing appears. So if someone saw me in the street and said he's got a beard, that means he's homeless. that would be judging a book or a human, me, by its cover, as in by how I appear, okay? And the example here I have is, he swears by this book and says you should never judge a book by its cover. So that's it for today's episode, guys. Hopefully by now you've learnt a whole bunch of different phrasal verbs that use the particle by. See you in the next one. Awesome job, guys. If you have any questions about English, about this episode, put it below. Remember, you can enroll in this course and get access to everything as it comes out. It's only $97, so you can sign up now. The link is there. You just have to click it and click sign up. There's maybe three or four components out already, and I'm working on the next one at the moment. And yeah, the price will be bumped up. It will be increased once everything's out. So if you find phrasal verbs to be really tricky and you want to wrap your head around them and improve your use of phrasal verbs so that you can use them naturally without thinking, you just create them when you're speaking, then I really recommend signing up to the Effortless Phrasal Verb course. The link is in the description. But if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment box below and I will answer anything that you guys are asking. I think a few of you put in some questions below. G'day Rocio, g'day Simon. Hey Simon in England. Simon's another Aussie, so he's walking to the office, he said. Zuli, how are you going? And Lale, you're watching as well. Adriana, hello Adelaide. Tabo's here, how are you, mate? Soraya, she's in Melbourne. Mohammed as well. So, what other questions have we got here? Scrolling through. People often say they'll drop by to imply they won't stay long, or just a casual visit, even if they aren't going elsewhere afterwards. Okay, so that's a good point by Simon. You can say it to mean you're not necessarily on the way to something else, but that you will only be there for a small amount of time. So we'll swing by, drop by, come by, but that I guess it is sort of, the journey is going to continue, but it might be that the journey goes to yours and then it comes all the way back home. But yeah, casual visit, that's a good point, Simon. And Chow said, I swear by Aussie English. Exactly. Thank you, Chow. Good point. Okay, what does Rocio ask? And thank you, Rocio. You always tend to be the first person to ask questions. Could you please explain the meaning of fare, as in, how did you fare in your exams? So for anyone listening right now, or anyone who can't see the comment section, she spelt fare F-A-R-E instead of F-A-I-R. So these are two different words. In the case of F-A-I-R, and I almost want to look this up just so that I don't screw it up, fair would be like just, fair. Or it could be that if you are talking about someone's appearance and they're fair, it means that they're not dark, they're pale. So I have fair skin. If I had blonde hair, you could say I had fair hair, okay? But F-A-R-E, I believe. So how did you fare in your exams? In that example, to fare is kind of to travel, I believe. So let me look it up just so I get the definition. Yeah. Second definition there is literally the word travel. The first one is perform in a specified way in a particular situation or over a particular period. So that is, I guess, the more figurative form of to fare. So that's what this would mean right now, Rocio. How did you fare in your exams? How did you perform? How did you go? How did you, I guess, live up to what you were thinking was going to happen? So if someone says, how did you fare in something like an exam, or how did you fare at something? Maybe you went to the beach and they say, how did you fare? It's pretty much just another way of saying, how did you go? How was the experience? How did you perform? How did you fare in the exam? How did you fare at university when you were a kid? How did you fare whilst you were away in France? How did you go? So I hope that makes sense. Any other questions that I can help you guys with? Any other questions? Have you posted anything here? Hi Pete, please teach me to pronounce taught and thought. Okay, so I might get a little up in your grill, a little close to the camera. Taught is the T sound. It's not a TH sound. They both sound exactly the same except for the first consonant. Taught, thought. So the first one is taught. So my tongue, if this was my teeth, my tongue is sitting behind the teeth and up touching the palate in my mouth. So the gum. So my teeth say they end here. My tongue is touching here. Taught. And it's holding back the air until I go taught. Thought is a different one. Thought is the TH sound where I'm doing this. The tongue is between my teeth. It's not behind my teeth like t, thought. And so I'm putting the tongue there. That's blocking the air a little bit, although air is still coming out, as opposed to when I said taught and I'm holding the air back. But I'm letting a little bit of air come out before I release it. So I say thought, and then I just make the ought sound, okay? That one takes a little bit of practice. I know there are fewer languages that use the TH. There aren't that many, especially from the guys that I seem to talk to. A lot of you guys from Asia and from European backgrounds that speak Portuguese, French, Italian or whatever, you don't have the sound. But I would just practice at home if you find it's an embarrassing sound to practice. Imagine blocking the teeth and then just let it go by pulling the tongue back. Thought, okay? Thought. And eventually the more you do it, it'll get subtler and subtler until it sounds really natural. So I hope that helps, Chow. Good question, good question. Hey Pete, is to pop over the same as to pop by? Lala, they pretty much are, but as Simon said, to drop by it's kind of a brief visit. It may be that you're also on the way to another location, but for the sake of speaking to someone and using either one of these, they're going to know exactly what you mean. They're going to think the same thing, that you're coming to their house. Okay, so I'm coming to yours, I'm coming over to yours if I want to use over, although we're not actually going up and above, but it's just sort of a figurative expression. We're going over to yours. We're going around to yours. So around, we're going around, or we're going by yours. And we're dropping by, we're popping by, whatever you want. You just switch the verb and again, use whatever particle you feel like out of those options. Dropping, I guess it'd be weird to say drop to yours, but to go to yours, to go by yours, to go around to yours, to go over to yours. You can switch in whichever verb you want and any of those particles and it all means the same thing. You're going to come to my house, okay? So definitely use that though. Words like drop by, pop over, those two verbs, drop, which is to pick something up and do this, that's drop. Pop is kind of like to, I guess it's kind of to throw. So like pop it over there or to put, to place. But I really like using those sorts of verbs, guys, when you speak for those sorts of things because they're the kind of verbs I'll use often, okay? So I'll use those more figurative, slangy kind of verbs than literally saying, I'm going to your house. I would much more likely say, I'm going to pop over to your house. I'm going to drop by your house later. I'll swing past. That's another good one. I'll swing by, swing past. If you hold onto a rope and you literally come down and then, swing, it's this movement. And we use that a lot for some reason. Yeah, I'll swing past later. I'll swing by later. I'll swing over later. I'll swing around later. Just pick whichever one you want, but definitely give those verbs a go. You'll sound awesome. Pillar, how are you going? Pillar asks, when should we use to or for? It is a little bit difficult for me. That's one that you've caught me out and I can't answer that off the top of my head. I would have to research that first. Yeah, that's a really difficult one because those two prepositions mean different things and are probably also used in the context of different phrasal verbs that may not necessarily abide by the rules that are generally used for those prepositions when they're not used. So I think if you want me to answer some questions about specific uses of particles to and for with phrasal verbs right now, I can probably tell you, but I might have to get back to you regarding those, as that's a pretty difficult question. So sorry I can't help you at the moment, but we'll find out. Ruchi, what have you said? Do we say I'm going to school or I'm going to the school? What's the difference? Okay, here the only difference is obviously that you've put in the word the, which is an article, and it specifies a or the specific school. So for instance, if I just say I'm going to school, that's the idea of I'm going to the place that I get educated, wherever that might be. Someone might not know which school it is. I could tell you guys I'm going to school tomorrow, and you guys don't know which school I'm talking about, but you know what school is, and so that's how I'm using it. Like going to university, going to town, any of those sorts of things. It's like we know what it is, but we don't need to know the specific one. If I said I'm going to the school, that would be that you and I kind of have spoken enough that you know which school I'm talking about. Okay, so imagine that it is, imagine I have a son who goes to school. He goes to school all the time. And I also have a daughter who goes to school. So they both are at school. They're both getting educated at school at the moment. And I say to my wife that I have to go to Peter's school. Imagine I've called my kid Peter, whatever. But I've called my son Peter, he goes to school, and I have to go to his school. So if I have to go to his school, I might say after my wife knows which one we're talking about, that I have to go to the school later. So I have to go to that school, I have to go to his school. I'm putting something in front of school there so that she knows I'm talking about a specific one, okay? So as soon as I'm talking about a specific school, that's when I would put it in there. Whereas if I'm just saying that he goes to school to get educated, I'm not talking about the specific school, I'm talking about where he goes, and it's school. I hope that makes sense. Any more questions, guys, or are we going to finish up there? I think that's it. Well, guys, if there's no more questions, I think we will finish up, and I will, run the next lesson by you next Monday. So hopefully I will see you there, and I hope you guys have an awesome night. Peace out.